Hello and welcome everyone to episode 127 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, the letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8, and many, many more, and... that was a very cheery intro.
Yeah, I mean, you got to bring the energy to start with, but I mean, we've read it before. We knew this was coming. It still sucks.
Yep. This is the one. Yep.
Yep, this is the one. And for those who have been reading fresh alongside us, that's the reason I kept bringing it up. And it's like, man, nobody's dying. Man, how did Pell survive that? He got a bomb blown up on him, and he's still kicking, scarred up a bit. That's something.
Yeah. I feel like I would really love to hear, like, did you know this was coming? You know, first getting into One Piece, like, how much of a surprise was this to you? Not to get too deep into it, I guess, but this was the first thing I ever knew about One Piece.
Really? See,
Yes.
I had started One Piece way back and was just watching the anime at the times. And when I was, so basically, I think at this point I was reading concurrently. At the time. Yeah.
I could imagine that would be shocking. And I mean, hey, it's still shocking for me also, just like seeing it in context even now again. But yeah, it was like I was on Twitter, like actively on Twitter when it happened. So man. I was like, I don't know what this One Piece is, but like people are freaking out. So I didn't start reading the manga until maybe a year or two after.
I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't like taking part in any forums. I was just a few friends that recommended, and I personally got into One Piece. So that's what I was watching and eventually reading because of the I caught up on the anime, and reading week to week, and I got to that. I'm like, oh my God, Oda.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into it when it actually happens. There's a lot of build up to it.
A lot of talk about either way.
Yeah. So let's do it. Chapter 571, The Execution Platform. And something interesting that's been going on. I don't think I noticed it until just now. Is like, we've been getting 2 sets of these Straw Hats hanging out with animals bits. Usually it's one set and it moves on, but I know we got another Nami before this point.
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, I think we're like, I think it makes sense that Oda's just taking time to not distract from anything. Just like, okay, here's our typical openings, and then we'll get into the chapters, not taken away from what's going on because of something's going on with what's such and such character, you know?
Right, yeah. And again, our next cover story is not for a while, so might as well. There's a lot going on in the main story, so you know.
Sure.
We don't need a subplot right now.
No. Although I do appreciate there's just a book that Nami's reading about money.
The book's called Money. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
But we get into the chapter itself where we last left off, where Luffy had this massive momentum after getting all this help, and then Garp appeared before him, ready to block his way to Ace. And yeah, here's Garp basically declaring, I've been fighting pirates long before you were born. If you want to pass, you'll have to kill me first, Luffy, Straw Hat Luffy.
And Luffy, he doesn't want to do it. You can tell he doesn't want to do it. But like we're seeing all these flashbacks too to like kind of Garp and Luffy's relationship as, you know, when Garp was a kid, or not Garp, God, when Luffy was a kid rather. Just, you know, all of the tough love, you know, like, you know, you have to grow up to be a strong Navy man, that kind of thing.
I like how you can even see that he has Luffy in a Navy shirt, like it has the seagull.
Yeah. He really tried.
Yeah,
he was like, my son's a criminal. Well, at least I can do is try to raise my grandson right.
Exactly. It's just Luffy's like, I can't kill you, Grandpa. Just get out of the way. It's like, no, you got to do it or Ace will die. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's like, there's going to be a lot of things in life you don't want to do, but I'm going to show you no mercy. And he's winding up. He's like, you're an enemy of the state. Everybody's sort of watching. Luffy goes into gear 2 as the two of them are like punching towards one another, and we get all these flashbacks of Luffy, of Ace, both current and
as
past.
Kids. Yeah, current and as kids. Yeah.
And
then it's that last little bit from Ace where he says, after everything I've seen and done, I still don't want to die. And you have that one like half second of hesitation from Garp.
Yes, that allows Luffy to duck under his punch and then smack him across the face, setting him careening off the platform and allowing Luffy to reach it. But it's still but two interesting things here where Sengoku's immediately just like, you're a father before you're a Navy man. And Garp, okay, yeah, typically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's an interesting sentiment because this whole time, like, he's been putting his duty above his family, right? Like, he's been... Garp in this set, even though he doesn't play, like, a large role, like, I find this... You can see the tension at play.
You can see why Garp is having so much trouble. Like, what do I do? What do I do? It's literally the hardest choice. And he just can't bring himself to do it. It's just too much. But of course, not wasting a moment in the distraction. Freaking Kizaru teleporting away, reappearing in front of Whitebeard and piercing him with the light once again.
Yeah. Again, he in particular is just unstoppable.
Yeah, he's just going all around just sniping fools.
Exactly. He can just teleport, snipe.
It's ridiculous, but Luffy has succeeded in reaching the platform. He finally made it.
Yep.
And he has the key. He's getting ready to set him free. And Sengoku actually uses his powers. We have no idea. I have no idea what this power is. He just grows huge and has like I don't know what it is.
I think it was Whitebeard earlier who called him Buddha Sengoku. So
he very much has a Buddha look to him, but I don't know if that... What power is Buddha?
Well, I will say that he is a Buddha. The actual... I think the devil fruit gets revealed in an SBS at some point. I don't think it's brought up here, but so I'll save it because it's interesting. But yeah, he can turn into like a Buddha, like a living Buddha statue.
I guess so. I have no idea what power that would be, or
it
can't be his own. I don't think it's a Logia, so it has to be a Paramecia, but I don't know.
The answer is a very interesting.
Oh man. So yeah, Sengoku finally getting ready to fight, see why he's so notable. But Luffy ignoring him, getting ready to use the key to unlock Ace, and Kizaru snipes the key.
He is just he is a thorn in the side of everybody this entire arc.
So brutally efficient.
And good aim, too.
Luffy's panicking. The Navy's getting ready to open fire on him. When all of a sudden we see that one of the execution guys on the platform is Mr. 3.
Mr. 3. And he got knocked out by Luffy's Supreme King Haki.
And that's when Sengoku's getting ready to punch them. And he immediately says, make a wall to protect Ace. And Luffy does a giant balloon. First time we've ever seen that one, to block Sengoku's fist with the candle wall protecting Ace and 3. And it's enough that Luffy is able to protect them, withstand the punch, and the execution platform just collapses under Sengoku, who is as big as the platform. He is basically giant size.
Yeah, no, he's huge. You see that perspective, just like Sengoku's giant fist going into Gear 3 Luffy. Like, it's funny to me that he was sitting on this the whole time. On this ability. He was like, I'm just going to sit here.
Standing back, he doesn't need to take part yet. He is literally the last line of defense. They're punched away, they're falling, and Mr. 3 makes a key to set him free. Set him free. While all the Navy men are just like, destroy them along with the platform. And this got me. I completely forgot this. And Mr. 3 says, if I told you I was here to mourn my fallen comrade and avenge him, would you laugh at me? And all Luffy says is like, no, of course not.
Yeah. And it's just it's that last little bit, like, Bon Clay's sacrifice actually getting Mr. 3 to act when the chips are down is like so good. It's just all of these little elements we've seen so far. And, we've seen Mr. 3 kind of like reluctantly help Luffy, but now like here he is in the middle of the action. He is literally like... He
was actively trying to stealth free Ace himself.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's amazing, but it kind of puts him at a higher moral level than Buggy. Like Buggy
absolutely. Yeah. He's completely out for himself, but like all of Luffy's antics, like, again, it's just that sacrifice from Bon Clay, like it worked.
Speaking of working, the execution platform explodes thanks to all the volley of cannon fire. And they're like, okay, fire. He doesn't have his powers. He can't be alive right now. But wait a second. Look inside those flames from the explosion. It's a tunnel of fire. And that's when Ace says, you never change. You never do as I tell you. And you get yourself in big trouble. And here's Ace, free, using his fire powers and saving Luffy and Mr. 3.
What a shot, too.
It is such an empowering moment where everybody's like cheering. We have Ace free. They actually did it. The entire time leading up to this, we're just like, the pirates are losing this fight. It is bad. Yep. This is not going well.
The build up to get to this point, to get to this moment, right? Like this, it feels like we finally, over the culmination of multiple arcs, has brought Luffy and Ace to this moment.
And it's a wonderful moment. There is a palpable cheer that rises from you seeing this finally happen, because it was so hard fought.
Yeah.
That's the chapter. And we do have an SBS kind of getting, I guess, a bit of clarification on Marco's power in comparison to Ace's flame fruit. So the blue flame, so we don't see this in the manga, of course, but Marco has a blue flame of a revival, which can heal his wounds, nullifying most attacks, but the healing does have limitations. The fire is for revival, and unlike real fire, it doesn't spread or give off heat, making it completely different from Ace's flames. So, might come into play later, but I'll leave it at that for now. So it's interesting that Marco has fire around him and is strong, but it's more of a healing type fruit, which is really, really interesting.
He's still a freaking phoenix at the end of the day. Like you're still talking about mythical devil fruits here.
For sure. And I do like this question. It's like, so Oda, in your SBSs, you say a lot of perverted things, you know? Does your wife complain about that? If she doesn't, she's like the perfect wife for manga artists. I'm impressed. And it's like, no, I say even weirder things at home, so it's okay.
Oh, God.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
What that poor woman must put up with.
Well, she was a stage actor as Nami, so.
That's true, yeah. She knew what she was getting into.
Yeah. All right, chapter 572, The Times They Are A-Changin'. And hey, it's Vivi hanging out with a sloth.
Again, I always love when Vivi shows up in these.
Same. It's always a fun moment. But we get into the chapter. Fire Fist Ace is free. The pirates are cheering. Straw Hat really did it, and all the people from New Common Land are like, oh, man, after all those impossible stunts, he finally did it. And Eva's crying. I love
Eva. I knew you could do it. Are you sure?
And Ace is right into battle mode. It's like, keep your guard up, Luffy. And they're just like, here's a fire pillar. Whitebeard's actually smiling.
Yeah, I love that the looks from Whitebeard of just like the utter surprise that he actually did it last chapter, but and just like that like slight little grin on his face. It's just like that's a proud daddy.
Oh yeah, it is. And then we get just some of the best shots where it's Luffy and Ace surrounded by flames fighting back to back.
Yes, yeah. And he just says, I never dreamed of the day that you had to save me. And it's just like you get like this big brother, little brother kind of banter. We saw that a bit last chapter too, where he's just like, you never do what I say.
And it's so cool. I love how they, like, even with this awesome 2-page spread, you can still see Mr. 3 in the background collapsing into the ground with his legs up.
I was so focused on the other two, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. I love those moments. So can never get too serious most of the time.
Yeah.
But they're firing on Ace and Luffy, and of course the shots are doing nothing to either of them. And just this fantastic team up where you see them just working together to just utterly take out all of these Navy men. Yeah,
you got like two of these Navy guys like coming at Luffy with swords, and so he ducks. And like Ace is like doing a handstand on Luffy, and of course Ace is fire, so the swords just go right through him, and then they just blast him with a fire fist, and you see all these panels of them fighting together. Even Vista's just like, look at that teamwork.
Yeah, you gotta love it. They're just like, all right, we gotta execute Fire Fist and Straw Hat now. And Ace is just like, hey, you've gotten a lot stronger. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna surpass you one of these days. And here comes Aokiji using his pheasant peck, and nope. Not enough. Ace blocks it with the mirror flame.
Yeah, yep.
Meanwhile, Sengoku has gone back to his regular form and is, Now you see him under the clothes. He is ripped.
Yeah, right.
You did not expect
He's
that.
jacked. Did he even need to turn into a Buddha?
And he's just upset at himself. He's like, how can I let this happen? And Doflamingo is, of course, just eating up every moment.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, it's just pure chaos. Let him go.
But here's Akainu. It's like, nah, they're not leaving here alive. Just be patient. We're gonna get them. And it's like, okay, which platoon is this traitor from? It's like, no, he's just a prisoner who posed as a Navy man. And all of a sudden, here comes the ship that allowed him to get through is starting to move. They're using paddles to move on land. And it turns out, freaking Squard, feeling guilty about what he did before, pushing the boat forward to just roll over all the Navy men and distract them.
Yeah, and of course, they're all like, you don't want to die, do you? But, he's just like, of course I want to die. I deserve to die for stabbing Pops. And so he's doing this to it may not atone for his crime, but he says he won't be satisfied unless it does this. So, he's, again, kind of redeeming everybody here.
Meanwhile, Marco's like, you don't need to do that. And he's asking one of the other pirates, it's like, get these handcuffs off me.
Oh, yeah. He's been handcuffed for like 4 chapters or something at this point.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, the ship stops because Whitebeard puts out a hand and just like, no. Don't you realize how cruel it is to make a father bury his sons?
I love that this, the ship has just been oh god, here it is, it's wreaking havoc, and then just Whitebeard just stops it with one hand.
It's like, you think that little jab of yours hurt me? Everybody grows old and dies eventually. We've done what we came here to do. We're finished. These are my final orders as your captain. Listen carefully. It's time for us to part ways. You must all survive and return to the new world.
Whitebeard he's the one who wants to sacrifice himself.
Yeah. He's ready to go out to get all his sons free.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, wait, you can't be planning to die here. It's like, nah, I'm a relic. No ship can carry me into the new age. And he just unleashes another quake, splintering Navy headquarters in 2. Really,
yeah,
3.
it's just like, he's just gonna, just like, all right, it feels like from Whitebeard's perspective, as somebody, he is raising his sons and he realizes, that he's getting old and that his time is up. And so he's just like, well, I'm going to take down Navy headquarters with me.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, this is his chance to go out in a blaze of glory. He saved his sons.
Exactly.
He's ushering them into the future. When we first met him, he was hooked up to all these medical machines. So he's not in the greatest of health, and he's taken how many stab wounds at this point? I think it's at least 6 or 7. He's immensely strong, but still, obviously there's a limit to this man. There's only so much you could do. And of course it's shocking everybody, but he's still grinning the entire time. It's like, no, don't turn back. A new age is coming. And you get a flashback to a young Whitebeard. And I love that, just that little peek is like, what? A pirate who's not interested in treasure. Then what do you want? Well, Newgate is like, let's finish this long journey once and for all, Navy. And just like, ooh.
Yeah, this is, man, I never thought that this is how, I guess you didn't think, I wonder how much Whitebeard knew, or if he came to this conclusion throughout the course of this war.
I think he knew it was going to happen, or he just saw, I think going into this, I think he knew what was at stake and what was likely going to happen. He's going up against the fiercest of the Navy.
Yeah.
Believe it, you need way more pirates than this.
Which is absurd.
Which is absurd, but there is some immensely strong people here that are actively giving Whitebeard trouble, and to have them all at once is rough, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. And then, also that little, so I actually remember what the little flashback is about. We don't get the answer to what he's not interested in treasure. Then what do you want? Yeah, we'll find that out. I'm pretty sure next time. But that he's flashing back to that here, I think, is also really interesting.
Oh wow! I can't remember if we got a flashback for him or not.
Not like a
proper, like a full one. Yeah.
But I feel like it also kind of ties it into Luffy in that way too. Of like, there's a lot I want to say about Whitebeard in that moment, but know that if you've read ahead, so I'm trying to allude to things that.
I immediately thought of Luffy as well, because Luffy will go for treasure and he has that idea, but he doesn't pillage for treasure or anything like that. It's more about the adventure. It's the freedom and the adventure, which you can kind of see that maybe that's why Whitebeard immediately felt a connection to Luffy.
I can see that for sure. Yeah, yeah. It's cool just extrapolating a bit from that information where it's like, as like a pirate sort of as huge and as legendary as Whitebeard, like seemingly, like if he's not interested in treasure, but like he has all of this power, it is kind of like, well, what is driving him? What was sort of his motivation this whole time?
Mm-hmm. And for now, all we can really see is his sons, but before that, we don't know.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating for sure. And time to continue on with chapter 573. The name of this era is Whitebeard. And poor frozen Karoo.
Yeah, he's a desert bird. He's not used to the cold.
I love that.
Riding a bear.
Vivi and Karoo. It's not just Vivi that gets him. It's always Karoo too.
Yeah. You can tell Oda. Oda loves this silly little duck.
Yeah, it's a favorite for sure. But Whitebeard is going to town to the point that the Marineford is outright crumbling. The waves are just getting so intense. Buildings are falling over. The whole island is basically threatening to just sink at the rate he's going.
Constantly in awe at just the scale of destruction going on here. And like, when you think about, I guess, the sort of the war and sort of the scale of it, like nobody's really been attacking Marine headquarters like directly. Like that's all Whitebeard.
Yeah, it is. Pretty much every little bit of damage done to the town itself is just Whitebeard.
Yeah, which is that's so cool.
The scale of the power is ridiculous. Like, you can just see, even among his squad leaders, he's just so much of a step above.
Yeah, yeah. And, they don't want to leave him behind, but, he one last time, he's like, can't you follow your captain's orders? Get away from here, you lousy brats.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's made up his mind.
And Navy's ready to go all out. It's like, kill him. He's on his last breath. We just got to finish him off before he destroys Marineford. And Whitebeard winds up again and smashes down to do even more damage.
It does not look like a man on his last breath.
No. And everybody's just like, some pirates are like trying to stay behind while others are pulling him away. Ace is struggling to move ahead.
He's stunned.
Go ahead too. Even Marco is kind of stunned by it. Like, we got to go. And now Sengoku's like, yeah. Now he doesn't have to worry about Ace. He's going to do everything he can to send Marineford to the bottom of the sea, all in exchange for his life.
And he can do it. You see in this, it makes sense. Like we've achieved the goal, and so now Whitebeard has sort of settled on his place to die. Yeah,
and Garp is ready to go toe to toe with. Like, he has no qualms going toe to toe with Whitebeard. He's like, all right, well, bring it on. Well, he's going to try to bring this. He's going to settle things and bring this era to a close. So I'll take him on. And in the meantime, the transponder snail has regained consciousness and is pointing at. They're like, let's point at a buggy. Let's get it. We got we'll show the whole world my heroic deeds as they can watch me take Whitebeard's head. And the video comes back on for the people at Saboti. And it's like, oh, I forgot about this. People actually get to see the end of this whole conflict.
Even Buggy is unintentionally has his own role to play too.
And everybody's like, you again, because he's introducing himself.
Yes, although I wonder at this point if Whitebeard is kind of on his last breath. I wonder if hypothetically could Buggy take him. Probably not, but I mean, he's been stabbed how many times, and that's pretty much all Buggy has. But I don't know, proper shot, who knows? Yeah.
Although I'm less inclined knowing what I know of this set of chapters.
Yeah, wait for your chance.
Yeah. So everybody is like, they're helping out Jozu, getting him free. Got to carry him back because he's taking some heavy hits. And he was just like, hey, Luffy, why are you standing around for? We got to go. And Luffy's calling out to Ace. It's like, we can't let the sacrifice go to waste. And Ace is just like, nah, I'm not going to. And he uses his fire to get close to Whitebeard, bows in front of him. And all Whitebeard asks is like, I have little use for soft words, but tell me one thing, Ace. Were you happy with me as your father? And of course, and Ace just goes, of course, and that just makes Whitebeard laugh.
Yeah, which, man, that's such a like the finality of this interaction is kind of like there's a lot of weight to this, where he, like all Whitebeard is concerned about is like how how Ace saw him as a father, which I like. It's touching.
It shows that bond between the two, and it's amazing. And Jinbei immediately realizes, oh, they're specifically targeting Luffy and Ace. We've got to get you guys away, because this was basically Whitebeard's wish. So we got to get you guys away.
Get them out alive. Yep.
And the Whitebeard's pirates captured a warship. Everybody's getting on board. Hancock's, of course, worried about Luffy. And that's when Akainu shows up. Is like, all right, do you think they really think they can escape? They're fools. And they just, here comes a giant lava fist.
And then here he comes in, starts talking smack.
Yep. You free Ace and turn tail and run, eh? The Whitebeard pirates are a pack of cowards. But considering who your leader is, that's no surprise. Whitebeard is a loser from a bygone era. And that immediately stops Ace. Just like,
what did you say about my dad?
Yeah, it's like you hear that, you see that, it's like, oh, son of a...
Yeah, and it's... this is one of those things, well, I guess we'll let the scene play out, but, you know, like... It's one of those things that's like, I hate that it works, but I understand why it works.
You know why it works, and you know Akainu knows what he's doing with this.
Like, we've already seen up to, like, he's a manipulator, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He knows exactly how.
He doesn't seem like he'd be a manipulator, but he gets into people's heads somehow.
Yeah.
Just keeps goading him, basically saying how your real father, Roger, stood in his way, making him an eternal loser who could never become king. You just all put on that farce as if you're one big happy family. But even though he ruled the seas for decades, he could still never become the king. He could never achieve his dream. And even like one of his own idiot sons was smooth talking to stabbing him. And you can see Squard over there.
By you!
And it's like, isn't that a failed life? And everybody's like, don't let him provoke you, Ace. Just go. Leave. Ace is just too ingrained. And we'll see later why he's so ingrained with this.
Yeah.
He just keeps egging him on, and Ace is refuting him. And that's when he declares that the name of this era is Whitebeard. And he goes to punch Akainu, and Akainu meets him, and Ace gets burned.
Yeah, which is you surprising at first, but, you know, like, you think that they're both like heat-based devil fruits, but, you know, apparently the magma is hotter than Ace's own flames.
Yeah, and we know that magma can reach far higher higher temperatures than just fire can.
Yeah. Before we move on, one thing I do want to point out about Akainu's speech here is that, like, I feel like this is kind of the first time we're getting to see him actually, like, talk one-on-one with another character. And I feel like you understand that, like, when you think about his sense of justice versus the other admirals, he's so much more of, like, an absolutist, right? Like,
yeah.
Whereas, like, Kizaru and Aokiji are much more, like, laid back. You know, Aokiji in particular more laid back than the other two, just in terms of kind of like how they view themselves and how they view their service to the Navy. If I had to describe Akainu, like it's he's so much more like absolutist, you know, where it's just like, you know, we are the good guys, you are the bad guys. Yeah, absolute justice.
And my might makes right, because we saw how he's treating people he considered cowards running from this terrifying fight. How he doesn't care if they have a family. If you're not fighting, you're worthless, and so
die for the cause.
Die. Yeah, you're supposed to die for the cause. And Luffy sees Ace getting burned like this, and is trying to save him. And he's just at his limit at this point, according, you know, as Jinbei observes. And as he is going towards him, Ace's Viva card pops out. And we can see it's back in good shape. It's no longer burned up. It's revived. Yeah. As Ace is recovering from that clash, Akainu keeps talking smack and is like, nah, Gold Roger and the Pirate King and the Dragon, the Revolutionary, House of Price and their sons are blood brothers, but you're both criminals and you'll never be allowed to escape. You're not going to get past me. Just watch. And he immediately goes for Luffy, just to take Luffy out with his magma fist.
Yep.
And we turn the page, and Ace got in front of him, and the magma fist is just straight through his chest. Yeah.
And you see him cough up blood. You see everybody kind of react and shocked a bit. And you see the Viva card, which had sort of returned to its prior state, like it burns.
Just immediately burns up. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a shocking ending. But it's also one of those things that it's One Piece.
Yeah, well, that's the... Ace is gonna be all right.
Yeah, that's a massive damage, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you hold out that hope because it's One Piece and no major character has died in the present day ever in this.
Yes. Let alone one who is at the center of like the past like 60 chapters of story.
Yeah. And so you have this hope, and I'm sure there's just massive amounts of discussion. Like, will Ace survive? Is he dead? Is it just gone? It was like, what's going to happen? And you get to chapter 574, the death of Portgas D. Ace.
There is no hope.
There is no hope.
There's no hope. Oda spells it out in as plainly as possible. Ace dies.
Ace dies. And you gotta love, like, the juxtaposition, the death of Ace, and the picture we get is Luffy, Nami smacking Luffy with the hammer through whack-a-mole.
Or whack-a-mole. Yeah. It's it's just, you gotta lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we have a lot to say about this chapter, so.
Yeah, and it's amazing. There's a ton to say. Just because, and even though it's just reaction shots to begin with. It was Ace's hit. Marco is freaking out. Jinbei's freaking out. All these other people are rushing towards Akainu. Even Aokiji is visibly affected. Garp looks like he's ready to lose it.
Yeah.
And basically all of Whitebeard's pirates are ready to just tear Akainu apart.
Yeah. And not only that, it was for the whole world to see on the transponder snail.
They all saw it, and despite the volleys they shoot at him, no, he's alive. He's not. He's a Logia type. He's magma. He's not going to be stopped like that. And he's like, Ace is still alive, eh? And he goes to finish the job, and that's when Jinbei comes in and is somehow able to stop his magma fist.
I have to assume that Jinbei can use hockey. That's my guess.
I think yes, he can use hockey or maybe like has water involved in some way, but he's able to somehow stop it.
But it still looks like it hurts.
Thanks to Mr. 3, he's able to get Marco's locks
finally
off. Finally get his locks off. To get this showdown between Akainu and Jinbei, and it's like, nah. You're not going to stop stalling. You know how strong I am. You are a warlord. It's like, nah, if I could buy even a little time by sacrificing myself, I'll gladly do it. I was prepared to die from the start.
Jinbei, man. One of my favorite characters for a reason.
Oh, yeah. Jinbei has really proven himself. He hasn't gotten to do a ton, but that dedication is just immediately ingratiates you to him.
Yeah. You understand what he's all about.
But here's the most interesting thing is...
Yes!
We get Sengoku saying, "What are you doing, Garp?" It's like, no, keep holding me down, Sengoku. If you don't, I will kill Sakazuki, Akainu.
And that's incredible. Like, because again, we've seen Garp struggle this whole time with like, kind of like, what side is he on? Or you're Navy man, you're a family man before you're Navy man. And I guess that there's something about like, you get the sense Garp had kind of resigned himself, but I guess it was like, no, we failed and they got away, but like that Akainu had done this.
I think it's the brutality of it, because he was willing to accept Ace having a quick, swift death by beheading.
Yes,
Ace is now suffering. He has a giant hole in his chest, and worse, if you think about it in terms of One Piece, and a thing that we've heard time and time again. A wound to the back is shameful.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Like, now, granted, Ace did it for the best of intentions.
Right. It's not because he was trying to run away. He was trying to save his brother. But you're right. That does add in another kind of like element of... It
just shows how cruel this act was by Akainu.
Yeah. I would even go as far as to call it like extrajudicial. Like, it is... Yeah. We had this set up. This was an execution planned within the system, and you can, whether you like it or not, that is the system. And Garp has kind of like accepted his role in that. But Akainu has sort of acted outside of that, just due to his sort of like deranged sense of absolutism. Like,
right,
pirates must die. We have to kill them at any cost. And so I feel like we're kind of seeing that stretch, and that's why I really like. I had forgotten that Garp had reacted this way. That he was like that Sengoku had to hold him down, otherwise that Garp would go in and avenge his beloved grandson.
Yeah, and this promise he made to protect Ace, keep him safe, and he just failed at it. And it eats away at him in just a way that's hard to understand, or hard to overestimate, overexert. This is just a major failure on Garp's part, and you can see why he and as a reader, we're also like, yeah, get his ass, kill him,
right? Yeah, get in there, man. That's your grandson.
I'd be fascinated to see the thought process of the people watching, because they're more just stunned silence about everything going down.
Yeah.
What are the people of Sabaody seeing this act by Akainu? What do they think of that? I really hope we get this, at least get a taste.
I do think it's fascinating. Well, I'll hold on to the thought for a little bit because it's coming up.
We continue on because everybody's upset at Akainu. Here comes Vista and Marco using their hockey to try to take him down. And Vista's just like, I'm never going to forgive myself for what happened here today. And he's just like, nah, Fire Fist can't be saved. And we go back to Luffy, and there's just a steaming hole in, like, it's literally a cauterized wound.
Right, yeah.
Ace is just like, I'm sorry, Luffy. I'm sorry you didn't get to save me. And like, no, get him a doctor. Somebody help Ace. And it's like, no, get a doctor. He needs first aid. It's like, Ace is like, nah, I know I'm dying. My guts have been burned out. I'm not going to last.
I feel like if it weren't for the chapter title, there would be kind of that hope, like, maybe he can be saved. We need to do something, anything. But again, Ace is just like, he's accepted that this is it for him.
And that's an incredible change, because he's kind of smiling as this is happening. And meanwhile, he was saying he's afraid of death. He was afraid of dying before, but now he's like, almost seems okay with it. And this is affecting Luffy more, because he's like, you said you'd never die. Isn't that what you told me, Ace? It's like, and we get some interesting stuff here. It's like, yeah, it reminds me of Sabo. I didn't have a little brother that needed to be taken care of. If I didn't have a little brother to take care of, I would have given up then.
Yeah, that's just a name drop of somebody we don't know.
Yeah, another name drop. I am aware of this character, but I think I don't know a whole lot, because I don't think a lot of information was put out about that character. But by the time I stopped.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up fairly soon.
And we get sort of the last words of Ace. It's like, nobody wanted me. It couldn't be helped. And we just get this flashback to flashback. It's like what if Gold Roger had a kid? It's like, off with his head. Let him burn at the stake. It's like the whole world will laugh at it. I want this hypothetical kid's last words to be, I'm sorry for being born the trash that I am. And we get the Don confronting Ace again. We never see the Don still.
Just a silhouette.
And he just says, nah, I would have, if I had the strength, I would have killed them all. It's like, what did you say? And It's like, well, if you ever see the Don, give him my regards. Dying makes me just nostalgic, even for the Don. So it's like, who's this the Don? I don't remember.
That is sort of a funny implication, right?
It's like, I don't know if the Don's the greatest person, but I guess we'll see.
What I was gonna say a little bit earlier is like all these reactions about what if Gold Roger had a kid, and all of these random people who are just kind of like, I hate him, I hope he dies or whatever. And I feel like that sentiment is probably shared, now that the whole world knows, basically, right? Like, yeah, I feel like, and knowing that, for better or for worse, Gold Roger is kind of responsible for this era that we currently live in. This one overrun by pirates. So I have to imagine, like I don't know. On the one hand, like, they were ready to broadcast his execution on live TV. But on the other hand, it ended up so much more like bloody and brutal and violent than even they were intending. Mm-hmm. So just like in terms of messaging to the average person in this world, like how do the Navy's actions come off here, I wonder? Again,
I want to see the reactions from Sabaody. That might be the most fascinating aspect of the world to me. But and knowing Oda, we will get those reactions eventually. I'm sure they'll run the gamut. But man, this part hit me hard. It's just like, there's one thing I've left undone. I wasn't able to see your dream through to the end. But I know you can do it. You're my little brother. Just like how I swore back then, I have no regrets. And it's one of those things, like, even Ace thinks Luffy can become king of the pirates.
Yeah. Actually, I'll allude to it here. That line has a double meaning.
Oh.
There's more to that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
It is something only Ace would know.
I have no idea. And
don't worry about that.
I'm sure it's 500 400 chapters away from being revealed or whatever.
But that line where I wasn't able to see your dream through to the end. That I think that even if you're just thinking on the level of like Luffy wants to become the king of the pirates, like that, there's so much I think that says about how Ace saw Luffy while also seeing his kind of relationship to Whitebeard, where like his service to Whitebeard felt a lot like I'm gonna make like Whitebeard's my father figure and I'm gonna make him the king of the pirates, but while also understanding that like maybe at some point like if Luffy wants to attain his dream, then like that will have to come to a head at some point.
Right. And it's also the old thing. He knows Whitebeard's an old man, so it's only a certain point. Luffy, you help that out. Let's just switch it. It's I don't know. It's an interesting look into Ace and his intentions, and the crazy thing here, like, oh God, it hits. It's like all I wanted to know was whether I should have been born, whether or not I should have been born. I can't even shout anymore. So Luffy, listen to my next words carefully and tell everybody what I say to you. And so Luffy shouts out, Pops, fellow pirates, and Luffy, I've always been such a hopeless person. I was Demon Spawn, the son of the devil. Thank you for loving me.
And you just get that just gut-punching 2-page spread where he's just in tears.
He's in tears. Whitebeard's in tears. Everybody's crying. He sniffles up, gives a smile, and dies.
Yep. And the smile is also kind of important too. I don't know if we've ever talked about that or if it'll ever, I don't know when it'll come up again, but the smiling in death is also kind of important.
Okay. I mean, Luffy was ready to die a smile while he was almost killed by Buggy on the platform. We know, I'm pretty sure we saw Roger smile as he's getting executed. So there's like this satisfaction with what you accomplish in life if you die with a smile.
Yeah. It's a very intentional choice,
and it is so affecting to see the Viva card just burn up and disappear.
Yeah, which we learned. Sorry, not to distract from just how like gut wrenching of a moment this is, but we learned about that way back in Alabasta of just like, what's this piece of paper? What? And that it would sort of become like this sort of like visual metaphor for Ace's life, and just seeing it like kind of disappear in front of your eyes, like it just that hits.
Oh, it absolutely does. And
yeah, it's really effective visual storytelling.
And even, I mean, we saw Luffy's reaction to losing his crew, but seeing his reaction to losing Ace, and flashing back to Ace saying, "I'm never going to die because I can't leave a wimpy little brother like you."
Yeah,
and Luffy's just blank-eyed, almost. I don't even know if he's screaming. He's just in shock.
Oh, he will be.
And that's how it ends.
Yeah. That, and you see that scene of his mom saying, if it's a boy, his name will be Ace. His name will be Gul D Ace.
And man, I don't know if it is still, but this has to be one of the most, if not the most shocking moment in all of One Piece.
I think it is. I think it still is.
It is. We have had nearly 600 chapters of impossible survivals for so many characters. Where they should have been dead. This should have killed them.
We've seen Oda remark that, like, he treats death like, the death of the dream, like the death of your ideals, the death of your worldview. Like that getting crushed is more important than death. We've discussed that, many number of times on this show, of sort of what the concept of death means to Oda and to the setting. And so, like, I can't get over the fact that, like, consider the past 75 chapters, right? Mm-hmm. Consider Luffy lost everything. He lost his crew, and then he went on a journey to save his only brother in life, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and that journey, despite all of the highs and lows, all of the sort of like ridiculous kind of miracles, basically, right? Like all of the things that should not be possible, all of like the people that Luffy has able to rally around him. And for this long journey, this like it ends in failure, right? Like Luffy failed.
It still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that Oda gives that tease, that feeling like it's all going to be all right because we get to see Luffy and Ace fighting back to back.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's going to be okay. We did it. We succeeded. Go Luffy. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
We might lose Whitebeard, but at least we saved Ace. And no. And again, with the smile, with him dying with a smile on his face, it really comes across as, as you said, failure is the death of your dream. Mm-hmm. But as we saw from Ace's last words, he achieved his dream. He wanted to be loved, and he was loved. Ace didn't fail. He feels complete, and that's why he's dying with a smile on his face. And it's just absolutely just, what can you say?
I want to say that I know a little more about that, but we still don't know a whole lot.
Right.
It's one of those things that I think like it comes up a lot thematically, and there is sort of like you can kind of piece together part of it. And so I'm sorry for being vague here, but like
it's okay.
Yeah. It's just like one of those things again. One of the mini mysteries of the One Piece world, but it is such a significant for one of the most significant like non-flashback character death in the entire manga. I think Oda went out of his way to panel Ace going from a frown to a smile and then dies.
Yeah.
I do think that sort of intentionality is important to point out.
Absolutely agreed. And it sort of definitely puts things in a different perspective. It's like, oh no, characters can die now.
yeah, that's the thing. now that this has happened, I would still not say that like death in One Piece is super common, but I wouldn't
expect it to be to shift radically where all of a sudden characters are dropping like flies, but it's not out of the realm of possibility anymore. And it's why I hammered characters surviving the entire time up to this point for those who weren't following along or were following along with us.
Because it really is one of those things that just like, I have to wonder how long Oda had this in his back pocket where he's like, I'm going to save this one, right? Like you're kind of baited into thinking that nobody can really die in this setting. And of course you think, again, talking about like Luffy going on this grand quest, obviously it is going to end in him saving his brother, right? Like,
right.
Obviously Luffy has surpassed so many other hurdles before. And like, you think about, shonen comics and storytelling, right? Like, of course, this is one of those things that you don't think that you would spend so much time on this for it to end this way. That's why I think it's so effective and why it's like still probably one of the the most famous, one of the most famous character deaths in shonen manga.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Let's get to the last chapter for this set. Oh, 575, Voiceless Rage. And I see the new theme we have for our cover titles. It's like it's pairs. We got Luffy and Nami, and now we got Usopp and Sanji. Also, I kind of love the pun of camel cigarette.
Yeah. It's good.
Tried attempted humor.
Yeah. Oh boy.
We begin with a memory of the declaration that we're brothers from now on. Marco's crying.
Hey, it's a Strong World reference. You get it?
Oh yeah. Marco's crying. Whitebeard's crying. Jinbei's crying. The pirates are just like, this can't be happening.
Jinbei looks like he's sobbing, man.
Oh yeah, and it's just this. It's just this wail from. Yeah, that's the wail unleashed. That's Luffy finally letting out the scream, and it just encircles all of Marineford.
Yeah, and we see, we saw that the people on Saboti watching saw it. And
they look horrified.
Right. Like, you think this is justice? Like, this is the system that's supposed to keep people safe.
And Eva's just like, oh no, Luffy's mind is completely crushed. He could die from this because was basically going off on will this entire time.
Yeah.
And now his will is crushed for the first time probably ever.
Yeah, we've never seen Luffy react like this to anything. And I'm sure just like he's at the end of his rope. Like he's running on fumes and hormones. 2
injections, just, still fighting off poison. His body just wrecked beyond compare. And he's lost it. And Akainu wasting no time, ready to take out Straw Hat as well. And Marco's like, you're not taking his life too.
Not this one, yeah. That panel of Akainu turning into like lava gloop is sort of unintentionally hilarious.
A little bit, but it's also terrifying.
It is equal parts terrifying and a little bit funny.
Yeah. And then like Marco's like, Jinbei, take him, go. It's Ace's last wish. We have to protect him. So if you let him die, you are going to bring shame to the Whitebeard pirates. And all the while, Jinbei's just like, you need to snap out of it, Luffy.
Well, and this surprised me. Well, because, like, seeing Jinbei and Luffy escape, Akainu's just like, I told you I wouldn't let you escape. Did you forget that? And then you turn the page, and Whitebeard coming in from behind.
And just punching his ass into the ground.
Such a satisfying attack.
Yeah. Not as devastating as you typically see a Luffy punch being. It's definitely looks like it hurts, but not to the degree of one of those famous Luffy punches that we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen what Whitebeard's power can, like, the raw destructive force it can do, and just all of that focused into Akainu's head is just like, yes, get him. Give
him a concussion. And God, Akainu, just the terrifying force that he is just like able to will himself up and use his Hellhound to literally obliterate half of Whitebeard's face.
Yes. And well, you would think that would be enough to take him out, but like, no, like Whitebeard just comes in. You see that awesome panel, just like his fist going straight into Akainu with the crack. Just like the air
right into the side of him, breaking ribs and sending him flying into Navy headquarters, pretty much destroying the rest of it.
Right, yeah, like, wow.
I have to assume that Akainu's out of it at this point, but who knows with his level of power.
But I know even, like, it has been an emotionally brutal past few pages, so I'm very glad to just one last chance to just Whitebeard wail on him. Because it's cathartic. We need it.
We need it. Even though it is a devastating result from Whitebeard, like to Whitebeard himself, but we knew that he was in bad shape, and this just confirms that he is on fumes, and that attack also served to separate the pirates from the Marines.
Which it feels like this is it. Like Whitebeard basically created an escape route for them, and that's like, I'm gonna hold them off. Like, this is it. And I love that even Sengoku remarks, like, even after losing half your face, you still have the strength to do this.
And like, Whitebeard's just like, I'm not finished yet.
Good lord.
Oh gosh. And now everybody's just like, oh no, not Pops and Ace, or not Ace and Pops. Is like, oh, if you're gonna cry, do it on the ship. We gotta go. Get all functioning ships to the dock. We need to go. And Hancock's still worried about Luffy, while Whitebeard goes to do another devastating attack, when all of a sudden they see this weird guy just like peeking out from behind Navy headquarters. This massive giant.
He's the size of Navy headquarters.
Yeah. Is he as big as Oars?
I feel like that's a good estimate. It's hard to tell, but I feel like, so I don't really remember a lot about that character, but like he's kind of got the similar hair.
Yeah, he might be another member of the Oars family. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's certainly a different look to him. And it's like, what is that thing? Is like, no, who's that on the execution platform? And they just say, you finally noticed us. And Sengoku's like, wait, what are you doing here? And Doflamingo's just like, oh, this is wonderful.
Again, he's just been laughing it up this whole time.
He's had such a wonderful day. Whitebeard just goes,
I'm glad somebody has.
You, the Blackbeard pirates. And we've seen that Blackbeard has increased his membership.
Yep.
It wasn't just, oh God, I'm blanking on his name.
Shiryu.
It wasn't just Shiryu. We've got this hook-nosed woman. We've got this guy with the long mustache and horns. We've got the giant guy, and we got this jester drinking out of a jug.
Yep.
And it's like,
yeah.
his crew just got as big as Luffy's. Because I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, hold on. I lost track. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, he's at the 10. So he has.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
He has more members than Luffy right now.
Wow.
And he was at 5 for so long. So what a crew! Because I don't know anything about these guys, but boy, do they look threatening.
When you could kind of, of course, his last line here, he's like, I'm glad to get to see you die, Pops. Long time no see. You can extrapolate that Blackbeard didn't go to Impel Down just for Shiryu, right?
No, he had a list of people he wanted to get on his crew.
Uh-huh.
And that is scary. It is literally Luffy's lowest moment and Blackbeard's greatest moment so far.
Right. It's just like, hey, you were kind of wondering, how could the situation get any worse? And now Blackbeard's here, and now he's sporting some very, very interesting new additions to his crew, which, yeah, man. No, this whole situation, if you thought Ace dying was bad enough.
Yeah. You have an estimate of how this is going to end at this point. Like, by this point, you can just assume that, like, Whitebeard's missing half his face. He's taken how many stab wounds? He is not leaving here. Now that death is is on the table, there is no way that Whitebeard is leaving this. It's just what kind of damage can the Marines and now Blackbeard cause to his crew before Whitebeard gives out?
That's the dangerous thing, right? Like, this war has been going on for so long, and both sides are kind of like, like the Marines may be kind of better off than the Whitebeard pirates right now, but like they're not in great shape either. And now we have this third party full of people who are just like raring to go.
Not looking good at all. But that's it.
On the one hand, I'm glad we didn't the last chapter of the set wasn't Ace dying. And that we got just that last little bit of catharsis with Akainu versus Whitebeard, but
it's still utterly devastating. It's a chapter we've known that's been coming for a long time, and to hit it is rough.
And not to get ahead of ourselves, next week is it.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
I did not realize that. Oh, wow. I wasn't sure. I was actually going to check after this to see, because I know we're getting close, but I have no idea how close. So, oh boy.
Next week is the end of the arc.
I am in utter disbelief.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it necessarily.
Yeah, but, this has turned out not to be the happiest of arcs.
Yeah. Oh boy. I don't think there'll be a big celebratory party like at the end of most other arcs.
No, I don't think so. So we'll see how it all goes, because with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 571 to 575 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerdGames on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And yeah, I mean, it was a long time coming to the set, man. Like, we're in uncharted territory, it feels like, for what is happening in the world of One Piece. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a big upset.
This was agonizing, waiting week to week.
Yep.
For one chapter.
I'm sure. Much like it is now.
Yeah, I believe it. But if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 576 to 580 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.